hello. Okay, window capture. What's up with you? Probably because I have two windows open, so it's unsure which one I want. Which is fair enough. This one, please. Thank you. Oh yeah, the chat box. Invisible, please. Thank you. Not the chat box, what am I saying? The text box. Invisible. There we go. Delete what's already on there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well. So, for everybody who watched Wednesday's stream, I do apologize that that Thursday and Friday didn't work out as a stream day. We're back to leave the light down a little bit too bright. Bit too bright. There we go. We gotta set the mood. We gotta set the mood. Okay. Yeah, that looks a bit nicer, doesn't it? Not as massively bright. I have two screens shining at me. It's bright enough. All right. So I tried again to see if streaming to Twitch and YouTube works because there's an update, but it still doesn't work. So yeah, that was a darn shame. That's the case. I have water here. Nice. And I did share my stream to everybody. I do wonder, can I? It's locked. So okay, that's no problem. I understand. I understand. That's fine. Okay. I should probably put it on here as well. I mean, okay, yeah. Reading SCP 669. Oh, we will have. Oh my God, we will have. This is the one. This is the one where we have SCP 666. What will we find? What will we see? Well, how about we find out? Okay, here we go. First one, Earthen Womb. So is it Gaia / Terra that we talking about here? That does not look like a goddess. No, that does not. Okay, but let me just check one last time to see that some people got the message. Oh yeah, I should probably respond to this message as well. There we go. Okay, Earthen Womb. It is safe. SCP-660. Excuse me. SCP-660. How I say it. Since I started reading SCP, I always said 660. May be safely stored in the standard locked safe deposit box, provided its mouth remains covered with an inert perspex disc and sealed with affixed tamper-proof strips. SCP-660 may be checked out for the testing and research with the written approval of staff of level 3 clearance or higher. Human testing of SCP-660 is discontinued. Excuse me, human testing. I mean, to be fair, that's half the Foundation's thing. Not even half. Majority. Majority of the time, they rather be like, okay, listen up here, D-Class, you gonna try this thing out. We don't know what it does. Or do we? We don't know. And the next thing you know, D-Class like comes back and he's like, dude, I feel weird, man. And the other D-Class is like, where are your legs? What do you mean? What? Just looks down, just was crawling in on the arms without realizing it. Description: SCP-660 is an irregular earthenware urn roughly 23 centimeters in height and 28 centimeters in diameter. With an opening 20 centimeters in diameter. Okay, the composition of SCP-660 is consistent with generic earthenware clays. The interior of SCP-660 is coated with dried mammalian uterine tissue similar to human endometrial lining. DNA testing is inconclusive. SCP-660 is capable of indefinitely preserving all biological tissue placed within it, regardless of external conditions or the state of the sample until the tissues are removed. Living tissue will remain viable and living organisms will remain alive even when deprived of sustenance for extended periods of time. While the exact mechanism is responsible for this is uncertain, isotopic labeling has shown that it involves the exchange of biological matter between the sample and SCP-660 interior coating. I'm gonna check if Twitch is everything's okay, because this is the first time that's not Twitch, that's Twitter. This is the first time. Yes. Oh yeah, I should probably delete that one real quick. This is embarrassing. Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. Okay, delete. There we go. And back to there. Just double checking. It seems to be working. Okay. Wait, did it actually? Because now that I paid more attention to the thing I need to delete than the thing that if it actually works. Yes. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. I had to check. Okay. Cell cultures from tissues preserved in SCP-660 retain an abnormal high rate of cell replication. Several samples have tested positive for precancerous markers in smear tests. -1 was a human fetus originally found in SCP-660, most likely having been sealed in the artifact for at least 6,600 years. However, -1 immediately underwent massive transformation upon removal, developing several blank consistent with anthropogenic blank progression. -1 is most likely neutralized. Details are available to personnel with clearance for /660. Recovery. SCP-660 was originally recovered from an archaeological dig in where it was found in a purported grave site among a number of other mundane artifacts. A beeswax seal covering the mouth of SCP-660 was dislodged during the excavation process, revealing -1 data expunged, after which the site was secured by the Foundation. The note of Dr. Blank, presumed deceased, enabled the isolation of SCP-660 from the rest of the artifact. So, it's basically a thing that just helps you grow. Kind of like how a womb would work, but of course you need to have like, you put it in there and then put some earth around it, it's like a womb. It's like a vase for plants, but it works for non-plant stuff, basically, if I understand this correctly. Log of tests involving human experimentation with SCP-660. Well, we see right now what it does. Lab report 660-A, sample condition: skin flap harvested from the left thigh of the cadaver of D612. Donor was healthy in all respects prior to death. Sample used: tissue samples left in SCP-660 for 2 months duration. That's a long test time. Results: daily biopsies indicate viability of samples. Cell samples taken from tissue graft are cultured in vitro, revealing a predisposition towards precancers and cancerous growth. Yeah, that's okay. Lab report: Bay skin flap house from the left thigh of the cadaver of the. Also, so we have from both thighs. Oh, maybe I should not have myself this loud. We got both thighs. Tissue sample left in SCP-660 for 2 months duration, and then grafted onto the torso of a D-class personnel with 2nd and 3rd degree burns. The recipient anomaly testing record had no contradictions with SCP-660. Result: tissue graft takes without complication, healing according to usual steps of adherence. Serum inhibition. Oh my god, what? Inhibition. How do you say that? Pronunciation, please. How the hell do you say this?
Inhibition.
That one I confused me. I was about to say inhibition, but I was like, wait, is it inhibition? Which honestly sounds the same actually now that I say it out loud. And revascularization. However, as is common with severe burns cases, the compromised skin barrier led to the infection and eventual fatal septic shock. Post-mortem biopsy analysis indicates skin graft would have returned to full histological structure and function had the recipient survived. Lab report C. Sample condition. I should probably record some reactions today from JoJo's now that part 6 is out. Maybe like 2 episodes real quick, just so people know I actually am working on it. I don't know. Live, I kind of want to make the intro a bit more special, so maybe not let's not rush it. Sample condition: live member of musculus house mouse, a bulb C strain acquired for laboratory testing by use of SCP blank. The consciousness of D614 was implanted into the specimen. D614 was chosen for his demonstrated resistance to the negative effects of prolonged isolation and sensory deprivation. Sample use: specimen left in SCP-660 for 2 months duration. It's always 2 months, it seems, huh? Result: unusually, SCP blank was incapable of restoring D614's consciousness to its original body after removal from SCP-660. A computer interface was developed to facilitate two-way communication with D614. An interview was conducted once D614 was familiarized with this interface. An excerpt is included below. Dr. Brown: I guess I'll have to take your word for it. And how did that feel? Suffocating and stretching. Could you be more specific? How the hell do you think it felt? Even mice need to grow, move, and live. Every part of me was straining, but I was stuck. I thought I would explode. You motherfucker. Full content of the interview are classified. An autopsy revealed precancerous growth throughout the mouse body. By the way, like, yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I slept horrible last night, and I didn't have that much sleep the night before either, so I'm a bit exhausted. Yeah, that's always one thing that I also think the SB Foundation needs to learn to stop doing is like, can you be a bit more specific to like suffocating and stretching? Like, what else do you mean? Should I explain to you? I felt like my body was about to explode, but I didn't move and I couldn't breathe. Like, that's exactly what those two words mean. There's nothing else to tell about it. Like, they always have to know, like, give us a bit more detail, please. And you're like, oh, God, for fuck's sake. Lab report D: right arm loss and traumatic amputation just beneath the elbow. D778 was severely injured in an incident involving. Why am I yawning so often? Involving SCP blank. Last limb recovered as part of cleanup operation. Subject would not have survived immediately reattachment surgery due to other injuries involving severe vascular compromise. Severed extremity preserved in SCP-660 in bid to preserve tissue viability. Result: right arm successfully reattached to previous owner. Subject reports return of sensation in fingers of right hand. Contrary to prognosis due to the severe tissue avulsion and nerve damage sustained initial injury. Biopsy reveals little to no precancerous cell growth. Transplant ruled a tentative success. D778 has been retained for further observation. Addendum: human testing with SCP-660 is suspended due to the sudden death of D778 from teratoma with malignant transformation. I've seen fetus in fetu before, but never have I had one try to grab my probe during an autopsy. Dr. Grayson. Okay. I feel like I will say it, not the strongest start of one of the 10 SCPs that I get to read. Not the strongest start, but I do think it can be very interesting because it's almost a solution to losing limbs or to regenerate your body, but it doesn't really work. It's like almost there, but there's like that one little step at the end that allows it to not work. So yeah, I think that's interesting, but I do feel like compared to like a stalling statue, loosened beams, and black glacier, this one was definitely one of the weaker starts from the 10 SPs that we get to read. Next one, salesman, too good to be true. Okay. Also, why do I have ads like these even though like my app blog is on? It's another safe, okay? SCP-661 is confined to a standard holding cell measured 6 meters by 8 meters at blank. Standard humanoid containment provision allows SCP-661 access to a bed, toilet, and a sink with a mirror, all of which are currently contained within the holding cell. At subject's request, the room is kept at an average temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. All other requests must be approved by a senior staff member. Guards assigned to SCP-661 must wear ear protection capable of sound neutralization and white noise generation. So whatever this guy says or does that has to do with noise It sounds good. Bobby, he has a natural 20 every time he rolls a dice. It's just like a boss. It's just like, hey, listen, I got this knife right here. It's not cursed at all. Don't worry, it's not cursed. And then natural 20, and then you'll be like, you know what? Maybe that knife is not cursed at all. You're right. I take that dagger. And then the boss is just like, oops, looks like it was cursed after all. Who'd have thunked? Okay. In the past, gods certified by Foundation medical staff as deaf have been permitted contact with SCP-661 without ear protection. However, this practice is now discouraged. Security cameras monitoring SCP-661 should have sound recording functionality disabled. So even through a external like listening device, you can't. It's still, the effect will still happen. All you can have is visual, but nothing audio-wise. Okay, all personnel coming into contact with SCP-661 without ear protection are to be assessed to determine if they have come under the influence of his abilities. Where uncertainty exists, personnel should be made subject to 24-hour quarantine before reassessment. The cycle of quarantine and reassessment should continue until assessing staff are satisfied that SCP-661's influence has diminished. Personnel reviewing audio test logs should also be made subject to assessment. SCP-661 is to be fed 3 times per day with food from the canteen at blank blank, and is to be provided with drinkable liquid 6 times a day. That's I mean, yeah, we should drink more water than we eat food in general. Like as in, like, you shouldn't only drink water during your meals. You should drink water just in general, like during the day, which I'm gonna do right now, actually. Subject has expressed a preference for flavored drinks instead of water. Well, that's a shame. Not very healthy, my man. Access to these is permitted as a guarantor of good behavior, with the privilege temporarily revoked if SCP-661 causes trouble for Foundation staff. Oh, it's a privilege. Okay, he had to work for that. He had to work for that juice, for that Kool-Aid. He had to work for that stuff. You can't just give him that. If you get an A+ on the next test, you get some more Kool-Aid. SCP-661 is a blanky-old Caucasian male. Clinical tests have determined him to be overweight and in poor health. Although he has no underlying health problems, he is to be provided with an annual physical to monitor his condition. SCP-661's temperament has been frequently described as abrasive and demanding, while Foundation psychological assessment has determined him to be the possessor of a poor temper, which has increasingly worsened since his containment in 1990 blank. Okay, well listen, if you want that juice, if you want that delicious sugar water, you gotta behave, man. You can't just have a temper tantrum, because otherwise you can say goodbye to you. Sweet drink. Testing has determined that SCP-661's voice has the power to manipulate others into wanting what he tells them to want. So if you say you want chocolate, then the guy will be like, yeah, you're right, I want chocolate, yeah. But if you say you want something horrible, like you want to commit thievery, you want to murder somebody, then it's like, yeah, I do want to murder. Ooh, yeah, this can go wrong. I mean, that's the Purple Man in Jessica Jones. That's all he did. Just because he spoke things or said things, people would do it. If somebody was like, if he said like, oh yeah, throw that piping hot coffee in your face, then person would just do it. Test subjects have described the effect as feeling like a continuous weak compulsion, which remains as a thought at the back of the mind for up to a week after encountering SCP-661. This compulsion is not powerful enough to the test subject to put himself at undue risk to acquire an item, but when presented with an opportunity such as passing by a shop selling a desired item, they will unthinkingly seek to obtain it. Okay, so they might, like, if they walk past a shop in the middle of the dark, but they see the item, they might break in. So, okay, so it's kind of like a time bomb in your mind, basically. It waits till it's right there, and then your whole body's just like, I need it. SpongeBob style. It's just like, I don't need it. I don't need it. Sees it. Yeah, I need it. And yeah, okay. The effect is strong for physical objects, but has also been observed to function for abstract concepts. Note that the subject must be able to understand SB661's speech in order to be affected by this ability. So if he speaks English, but you don't speak English, you're Gucci. You're good. SB661 was first encountered while working as an advertising marketing agent in blank blank doing vocal work for radio and TV advertisements. So that's smart. That is very smart, because then, like, of course, whenever they see it, they want it, so they're gonna do anything to get that product. I wonder if he's like part of the ones, you know, those advertisements that were all about like, are you tired of being a fucking idiot? And you see like the woman in the background or the man in the background using like a normal daily item, but it's just apparently incapable of using it normally. It's like, do you want it to be easier? Then take this item that's exactly the same, but somehow has some gimmick to it that makes it apparently easier and still efficient. But at the end, it's just a dumb thing to buy. I wonder if he was like advertising those type of items and people just bought it. It was sold, it was sold, it was packaged, it was delivered, and then the next thing you made big box. And if you wonder why they just all did that so intensely, that's from Jurassic Park. Well, it's not the exact quote, but it's a similar style of quote. You sell it. Sorry. Okay. He became known to the Foundation after becoming notorious for making bets and about being able to persuade anyone to do anything. His abnormal high success rate in this regard led to this being placed under surveillance, followed by containment for testing after his powers were recorded by an undercover agent. Next of kin were provided with a simple cover story involving a yachting accident. Addendum 1. Despite initial claims to the contrary, it has been determined that SB661 is perfectly aware of his powers. Yeah, of course he does. If he goes around being like, watch me, I can persuade anybody. Of course he knows that he has powers like that. Though it is unlikely that SCP-661 will ever be a direct threat to the Foundation personnel, the potential consequences for security should he breach containment and manage to reach civilization are sufficient that the termination is authorized should escape be attempted. So they can put a bullet in his back, if in his brain, if he ever tries. SCP-661 has displayed no unnatural abilities beyond that of his voice, so it is theorized that they can be incapacitated by standard means. Okay, yep. Addendum 2, test log. Okay, here we go. Let's see what you can do, big boy. Test 0-0 D6069. Hey, nice. 55 exposed to recording of advertisement for a blank brand food processor voiced by SB661. Result: despite having had no previous interest in cookery, D6069 nice. 55 expressed his desire to purchase the food processor. When asked why, he claimed it seemed like a good deal and might make a good present for his mother. Test 1. Subject politely asked to demonstrate powers of persuasion. Subject claimed to have no knowledge of state powers and asked for his lawyer. Really? You really want to do this? You're in a potential what looks to you like a jail that has a bunch of guards, scientists, and if you ever looked around, I just now realized I didn't put the. Did I put it in? I did. Never mind. Where was I? Scientists, guards, and if you ever had a chance to look around close enough, a bunch of things that are not normal. I think a lawyer will not help you in this case whatsoever, and you should be aware of that. But of course, I wonder if that works with his powers though. If he can be like, I want to see my lawyer, will that make any of them be like, we have to get him a lawyer? And in the moment they getting a call or they see one, they're like, are you a lawyer? You can SCP-661 wants you. And he's like, what the fuck is an SCP-661? What are you talking about? Where are you taking me? Test 2. Subject ordered to demonstrate powers. Result: subject refused again and claimed ignorance of powers. And further press, he told researcher, you want to not hold me here. You want to not experiment on me. The researcher then requested cessation of the test and suggested the release of SCP-661. He was subsequently reassigned. Well, I mean, that's a perfect. You basically helped them out by showing that you can do it. Like, The one that heard you say that is now like, oh yeah, let it be. But everybody else, everybody else is now aware. Like, okay, yeah, now we know. Test 3. D965215 introduced into SCP-661 cell. D965215 has a history of violent crime and was told to get SCP-661 to demonstrate his power by any means necessary. Result: following an exchange described by researchers as abrasive, D965215 assaulted SCP-661. SCP-661 stated, "You want not hurt me." D965215 immediately ceased attacking and was removed from the cell. Okay. Test 4. How many times like they go ask him to show his powers, even though he just did twice? D161709 ordered to attack SCP-661 or face termination. Upon commencement of attack by D161709, SCP-661 stated, "You want not to hurt me." D161709 continued attack. Interesting. Video and audio logs indicate that D161309 was exhibiting extreme stress and repeatedly apologized to SCP-661 while expressing its desire not to be terminated. SCP-661 then stated, "You want to die," at which point D161709 ceased his assault and attempted to escape the cell by attacking the guard at the door. He was subsequently terminated. Wow, this guy. So if the desire to survive is higher than the desire to follow his words, then it will counter that out. But it will be done with a lot of guilt, heavy heart, and stress on the body of the person. Test 5. D313217 ordered to attack SCP-661 or face him. Why is all you guys all ordering him to attack this SCP? Of course he's gonna be angry at you. You send 3 different people to attack him. Of course he's gonna be pissed off and have a temper and not like it around you. This shit sucks. D313217 is unable to speak or understand English. Okay, Result: SCP-661 attempt to use of various phrases to prevent attack but was unsuccessful. Attack lasted 4 minutes before D313217 was restrained, after which SCP-661 was observed to be visibly shaken. Testing suspended until further notice. Yeah, like, of course he's visibly shaken. He's a man with the power to persuade people, and now that one person that he tried to persuade didn't work, and he just gotten his shit kicked out of for 4 straight minutes. Of course he's gonna be shaken. If not, like, I'd be surprised if he wasn't. I'd be surprised if he just stood up and be like, well, let's do test 6. Come on, let's send the next guy in who wants to beat the shit out of me. Requested by Addendum 3, requested by SCP-661. Let me out, denied. No, really, let me out, denied. This isn't funny, let me out, denied. I demand to be released. I'm a US citizen, you can't do this to me, denied. 1 box of Havana limited special edition Cuban cigars. 2,000. Is that? Wow, $2,012 in US dollars, denied. 1 box of Miami Coast cigars, $299 in US. What the fuck? Who pays this much money for cigars? I guess people do. I mean, but still, Jesus. 1 box of generic crab cigars, sick, denied. 1 pack of cigarettes, denied. 1 pack of nicotine chews, approved. Seriously, people, has fun as it is watching him beg. Addiction is no small matter, Dr. Blank. Oh yeah? Is that really a good idea to feed you SCP's addiction? I mean, of course, he might be right, because maybe this SCP will then do some crazy shit just to get the things he wants. A computer with internet access, denied. A computer, denied. Television with cable, denied. Television capable of playing digital or analog recordings, denied. Books written in science confinement, denied. Books published prior to confinement, approved. Human beings need some entertainment to maintain sanity, Dr. Blank. CD player, approved. Since he can't read, at least give him a non-record capable music device, Dr. Blank. Writing utensil and a pad, denied. Risk of the attempts to use power through written materials has not been performed as of yet, but still might be within subject's power range, Dr. Blank. Addendum: there is no evidence of reason to believe SCP-661's power can extend to written objects. However, this request remains denied for security reasons, Agent Blank. Yeah, it makes sense. You don't know. Maybe, and also maybe it's just him getting angry unlocks something new in him that he doesn't know himself either. Due to the backlog of requests, Dr. Blank has been forced to ask other persons to assist him in processing SCP-661's request. Request not processed by Dr. Blank. 1. Leather jacket denied, subject placed into restraint jacket instead. Tacos denied, subject given burritos instead. Wait, so why is tacos then denied? Well, you're afraid he's gonna use the tortilla bread to just stab you? Like, what? Why are tacos denied? Come on, let the man have some tacos. Come on, man. He deserves at least some tacos. I mean, or some nachos. Come on, like, don't be like that. 1 CD of the best of Led Zeppelin denied, subject given a CD of the Monkey. What? Why? Blank it blank weeks in here. Open a goddamn window or something. Denied. Officer Blank pass flatulence in cell instead. What is happening? Why are you guys doing this to him? A spot of sun denied. Officer Blank shined a flashlight in his face for 10 minutes. Are they all like making fun? They're all making fun of him, aren't they? 1 Baconator cheeseburger from Wendy's denied. Subject was given 1 Boca brand soy burger instead. 1 pair of Aviator brand sunglasses denied. Light turned off in the room. 1 Pepsi brand soft drink denied. Given 1 can of Coca-Cola brand soft drink as a suitable replacement. After recovering from conclusion, Dr. Blank was reassigned to a non-sentient SCP. Gentlemen, seriously, as abrasive and rude as SCP-661 is, he's still a sentient SCP and should be afforded some level of respect. I don't care what he does. Events like the above will not be tolerated. Okay, so they all just kind of just took a piss out of him, and now this doctor's like, hey, what the hell? What are you guys doing? Like, why? Like, a burger is seriously not something, and tacos is seriously not something that you need to worry about. Also, a CD of Led Zeppelin. Why are you guys like doing this to this man? Of course he's gonna be pissed. No wonder he has an anger management issue. You all like, he asked nicely this time. Like, before he demanded stuff to think that it will work and that he can just walk out of here. But now he just like asks, like, hey, can I at least just have a burger? Like a burger that I would like one of those, and you're like, yeah, sure. And then you give him a soy burger. Come on, dude. Butler's handbell. Another save, but hey, this is some high rating right there. That's big. That's a big one. Does this open to a new page? Yes, it does. Okay, this is a bit of a longer read, which is perfectly fine. But it's a big boy read right here. Okay, a big rating right here. I mean, not big boy read. That's nothing to do with this. Big boy rating is what I wanted to say, and I said reading instead. So okay, SCP-662 should be kept in its red velvet-lined case and stored in high-value storage locker 23C located at blank. When not being utilized for testing or other appropriate activities, the item itself is safe to handle and poses no known threats of any kind. Though the effects generated could be considered highly valuable and variably powerful depending upon how the SCP is used. SCP-662 is a small silver handbell, 4 cm tall and 2 cm in circumference. The bell is missing its ringer. Within the inside of the bell, an inscription has been etched in the silver reading, "Forever Mine SJW." The bell is susceptible to damage, however, given its safe nature, destruction has been deemed unnecessary. As it is made of very pure silver, it requires regular polishing to remain without tarnish. Is it like a cartoon bell? You know, like how in cartoons, whenever you like ring the bell, the button like instantaneously shows up. It's like just there. Is it like one of these type of bells? When the bell is shaken as if to ring it, a soft chime can be heard, although this does not come from the bell. A short, well-dressed Caucasian butler of self-proclaimed British heritage calling himself Mr. Deeds will appear from the nearest area not within line of sight. Yes! Yes! Oh, let me get my laptop. This is an SCP. I just realized I never wrote my script. Fuck! Okay. This is an SCP that we should definitely do. Also, I should probably stop putting the list that I have here onto Google Docs, because this otherwise, because on Google Docs at least it's safe, right? Because otherwise, if I have it on this Mac, specifically on the notes section, if this Mac ever gets lost, all the SCP numbers are lost. So I should probably start putting this in Google Docs. But yeah, no, this one is great. This one is great to do because it's such a classic cartoon trope. I wonder if there's any like negatives about it. So I didn't stop writing my script. I should do that. That was supposed to be this week. God damn it. I need somebody to like just keep track on me. Okay, sorry. Mr. Deeds will appear from the nearest area, not within line of sight. Yeah, usually from around the corner. Mr. Deeds will address the ringing of the bell by the appropriate title and last name, and ask what it is to desire. His knowledge of individuals' last names and titles is a mystery, as he himself will purport. Please see interview log 662 L1 for further details, which is also down here, which we actually gonna read right now. Okay, an interview with Mr. Deeds, the entity associated with SB662. Good afternoon. Wait, no, let's give this Dr. Mirth. Yeah, just give him like what kind of voice should we give him? I'm trying to be a bit more creative. Let's just give him a good afternoon. No, I want to give the butler more of like a posh voice, right? So like. Let's just give Dr. Myth my normal voice. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Myth. How may I be of service? Firstly, may I have your name? Certainly. You may call me Mr. Deeds. Is that your real name? It is not my birth name, no sir. Well, man, it's dirty. I just now realized how dirty my glasses are. What would that be? And where were you born? Unfortunately, I cannot remember my full name, sir. Nor am I positive of my birthplace, though I do believe it to be located in England. Yeah, I can't do a British accent, so like, I assumed he would be British, but I can't do an accent. I suck with accents. Only like certain accents a little bit hit it, but not good enough. In England. Do you recall where you were born, Mr. Deeds? I am truly sorry to disappoint again, sir, but I do not recall it either, though it may have been some time ago, for I don't believe that I was born in this area. Can you approximate it? Again, sir, I apologize for my lack of self-knowledge. I'm a bit of a shut-in, as you know. Mr. Deeds nodded at the bell and smiled. What is the earliest mode of transportation that you can recall seeing in person or utilizing from the past? Horse and buggies, sir, although bicycles were just becoming a fad with the wealthy, if I recall correctly. The crowd took off, didn't they, sir? Mr. Deeds smiled again. You needn't call me sir any longer. I appreciate it, but it's becoming a bit grating. Very well. Why do you suppose that you cannot remember these things? I can't say. Mr. Deeds shifted his weight in his chair and looked a bit uncomfortable for a moment before resuming his posture. Or is it that you may or will not say? That may be the case. Yes, perhaps I may not say, though. Again, begging your pardon, I do not recall why that is. Very well, moving on. Where is it that you go to when you fetch items for those you serve? Well, you see. Mr. Deeds' face contorted momentarily. Contorted momentarily as if he was in great pain before he quickly assumed a more relaxed visage. I don't actually recall that either. Why do you wince when I ask these kinds of questions? I do not know. Never mind that for now. I will get answers eventually. Now then, I have a request. Very well. How may I be of further assistance? I would like a glass of iced tea, and grab a glass of it for yourself if you like. What kind of iced tea would you prefer? Surprise me. Certainly. The Deeds stood and walked to the door of the interrogation room and tried the handle. Finding a lock, he turned and smiled at Dr. Murph. What seemed to be the problem? I must leave your presence to do as you request. Why is that? Visibly uncomfortable again. It just is, Dr. Not Myth. Okay, open the door, Agent Graves. Mr. D left the room. He proceeded down the hallway under the visual surveillance via camera and Agent Graves. He paused momentarily at another door, shook his head, looked up at the camera and then at Agent Graves, and he ran down the hallway and round the corner. Agent Graves did not follow, as he had been instructed to remain on guard at the door of the interrogation room. Still under camera surveillance, Mr. Deeds proceeded quickly down the next hall and continued throughout the halls of the complex, presumably searching for an exit or area not under surveillance. Finally, he stopped halfway down the corridor 2D. At this point, all 3 cameras in corridor 2D malfunctioned, including 2 that were hidden. Exactly 3 minutes later, the cameras resumed normal functioning, revealed Mr. Deeds standing in the same position but with a tray holding 2 glasses of iced tea in hand. He then quickly made his way back to the interrogation room. Ah, you have returned. I was beginning to worry. My apologies for the delay. Finding a way out of was troublesome, but not to worry about the tea, just as you asked. I do hope you enjoy it. What kind of tea is it? Southern style sweet tea. Mr. Deeds placed a glass in front of Dr. Murph and resumed his seat at the other end of the table. Dr. Murph hesitantly sniffed the tea, smiled, and took a sip. Quite good, Mr. Deeds. In fact, this is perhaps the best sweet tea I've ever had. Delicious. Did you make it yourself? I do dislike disappointing you, Dr. Murph, but I do not recall. I assume that I did, but alas, my mind is not what it used to be. You've only been gone, Dr. Murph looked at the watch, about 10 minutes. Mr. Deeds, are you telling me your memory is so terrible that you cannot remember what happened 10 minutes ago or the time between? I recall looking for a way out, and I recall returning with the tea, but that is all. So, okay, it basically is whenever he's gone, he just doesn't remember anything. Like, wherever he goes in that in-between time, there's no memory of that. But not how or where you acquired the tea. Unfortunately, no. Mr. Deeds was visibly uncomfortable again. Very well, I have another request, as you wish. I would like a bar of gold. What percentage of pureness would you like? 99.98% of you, please. That may be possible. Let me see what I can do. We'll disable the camera in the hall outside, and Agent Graves will wait in the interrogation with me to make your trip a little fast this time. Very much appreciated. Shall I? Yes. Yeah, just give me some gold. Just I just want 0.02 impure in it, okay? The rest is just pure gold. Just come on. It's easy, right, for you? Well, okay. The Deeds exited into the hallway, where, despite what Dr. Murph claimed, the cameras were not turned off. He paused for a moment, looked up at the closest camera, shook his head, and began traveling through the hallways of the complex as before. In corridor 2B, he paused, and once more, all cameras hidden or visible in the corridor malfunctioned, exactly 10 minutes and 37 seconds later. The cameras began functioning again to show Mr. Deeds once again in the same position with a bar of gold in one hand. He then returned to the interrogation room. That took a bit longer than last time. Any reason? Well, it seems that the cameras in the hallway remained on, so I had to find a suitable way out again. I apologize for the delay. Also, I was not able to acquire a bar of gold to the pureness that you requested, but I assure you that this bar is 99.14% pure. Very impressive. We'll be testing it, I'm sure you know. I did not know that you would, but it makes sense, I suppose. Will there be anything else, Dr. Murph? Yes, for your next task, I would like you to acquire for me a blue 1963 Corvette convertible. Is Dr. Murph just getting... is he just spoiling himself while doing tests? He's like, yeah, just give me like a car, okay. I'm quite sorry, but that is not possible. Oh, why not? I really want one. Again, I cannot say why, except that I just know that one cannot be gotten via my methods. And what are those methods? I do not recall. Very well, I would like a Faubourg egg. Any will do. Ah, well, regretfully that is impossible as well. And I suppose you cannot say why. That is correct. How about some caviar? Any brand or type will do. That I can do. This interview is just Mr. Dr. Murph just spoiling himself. Mr. Deeds once more in the hallway outside the interrogation. The time the cameras were turned off. This time the cameras were turned off after visual confirmation of Mr. Deeds' entry into the hall. 1 minute later the cameras were turned back on, but Mr. Deeds had already returned to the interrogation room at this point. That was considerably faster, Mr. Deeds. It only took you 32 seconds, and the cab is quite good. I am pleased to hear it. One more thing before we end the session, Mr. Deeds, as you wish. I request that you assassinate Osama bin Laden. I'm afraid that cannot be done at this time, Dr. Murph. Perhaps someone closer and less heavily guarded. Very well, let's make it the channel in the next room over. Indeed. Excuse me, what? Mr. Deeds once again entered the hallway. After visual confirmation, the cameras were momentarily turned off. When turned back on, they revealed the door of the next interrogation room down, shutting. The cameras in that interrogation room showed Mr. Deeds entering the room with a large buck knife hidden behind an arm. Mr. Deeds approached the waiting D-class personnel and deftly slit his throat with one quick motion of the knife. Mr. Deeds watched as D-class personnel went through the motion of death, avoiding the attempts to grab him. Once the D-class individual was visually presumed dead, Mr. Deeds returned to the interrogation room from whence he came. Dr. Murph, the deed is done then. Indeed. Here's the knife I used as proof. Why could you do this thing but not the other? I cannot say, except to note that I simply knew one was possible while the other one was not. So you don't know how you know things like my last name or my title, or whether or not a certain task is possible. That is correct. Very well, I believe we are done here for now, but I do not need to consult with my colleagues at some points. Please wait here until I return. Certainly. Dr. Murph and Agent Graves leave the room. Dr. Murph returns 2 hours later. Video surveillance shows that Mr. Deeds did not move during this interval. Wow, he just... This man is loyal. Mr. Deeds, my colleagues and I had some disagreements about you. That's most unfortunate. We feel that these disagreements can only be resolved by examining you more intensely. Certainly, Dr. Murph. To be specific, we like to examine you internally. Certainly, Dr. Murph. We like to do an autopsy. Shall I kill myself for you? And since you will be examining my internal organs, do you have a preferred method for my death? Yes, if that's possible. Certainly it is possible, Dr. Murph. Might I suggest having me cut my own throat so that I am exsanguinated? The buck knife from where I killed Mr. Redacted is conveniently at hand. Although other methods are of course available, it would either take longer or damage my organs such that they are no longer accurately representative of my pre-mortem state. I suppose that will be acceptable. At this point, Mr. Deeds took the buck knife and placed the edge of the blade against his throat. Wait! Yes, Dr. Murph? Before you do it, you will come back afterwards, correct? I'm sorry, Dr. Murph, I don't quite understand. After the pawn shop incident when you were killed, you came back to life afterward when Sergeant Bell rang the bell. If you say so, Dr. Murph. Will you come back to life again? I have no idea, Dr. Murph. If I did before, then presumably I will again. Unless something has changed. Have you any further questions before I make the incision? I do recommend you step back, as I would hate for my blood to soil your clothing. Death throes can be untidy. No, I suppose not. Carry on. Very well, Dr. Murph, and in the event I don't come back to life, it has been a genuine pleasure to serve you. Mr. Deeds then sliced through. This is, oh my god. I don't know why, but like a butler this loyal is crazy. Mr. Deeds then sliced through his own throat and bled to death. A post-mortem examination of the body revealed it to be ordinary in every way, though it is noted that Mr. Deeds was not suffering from any noticeable disease or physical condition and was in fact in near perfect health at the time of death. The contents of his stomach consisted of Southern-style sweet tea, normal stomach acid, and no more. Mr. Deeds' body was then left on the operating table with other lights in the room and cameras were turned off. All personnel left the room and upon return no trace of Mr. Deeds, be it blood or the instruments used or other physical traces such as organs removed, let alone the actual body remained. Further reading of SCP-662 resulted in Mr. Deeds' appearance after 3 minutes. He showed no signs of injury and was well dressed once more in a modern uniform commonly worn by butlers. As expected, he could not explain how he had managed to survive. He was then ordered to give Dr. Murph a full body massage, which he performed much to Dr. Murph's satisfaction. Dr. Murph claimed that it was the best damned rub down I've had and my back pain is completely gone. You guys need to use this SCP to help you out. Like, I'm pretty sure if you ask this guy to just like, hey, can you pass this paper to this guy and all that stuff, your foundation life would be so much easier. I understand, don't abuse an SCP for your own personal gain, but some SCPs you have that are just there for like that are just roaming around for your own good, for their good. because they're harmless, or they help you out. Or you occasionally are allowed to talk to God, one of the SCPs, to just like, you know, get rid of depression and anxiety and all that. So why not have him and be part of the Foundation and you know, help you guys out? Most reasonable requests given to Mr. Deeds will result in satisfaction. However, there are limits to what he can do. He is unable to produce very complex items such as sports car, luxury homes, or personal jets. If he's allowed to leave a line of sight and return, he's able to produce smaller, less complex items such as the ham sandwich, a glass of iced tea, or even more luxurious items like caviar or a brick of gold. A list of notable items that the plot has thus far been able to provide to those who ring the bell may be found in Addendum A1. Mr. Deeds will also perform manual tasks such as washing vehicles, preparing food, and cleaning bathrooms. If a request is deemed unreasonable or impossible by the butler, he will kindly tell the ringer so, and offer an alternative if one may be had. The butler is not immune to ill actions taken against him while inside. He has been killed or injured in multiple tests and will remain either dead or injured until he is out of sight. Upon return with a ring of the bell, all previous injuries will have vanished and he will be groomed and well dressed in his uniform and ready for the next order. A more detailed explanation of the jobs he can perform and the limits to which he may be put can be found in the aforementioned interview log 662L1. Test logs relating to his abilities to heal himself and those of the properties of the bell may be accessed by any level 2 or higher personnel. All attempts to catch Mr. Deeds disappearing have failed, as equipment will either fail or he will find a suitable unobserved spot. Addendum A1. Items and tasks requested and results. Items. Okay. Here we go. Nearly any conceivable kind of sandwich, human flesh, has been requested as lunch meat and politely denied. Okay. Okay, so he's morally at least not, well, I say that, but he did just kill somebody. But I guess like when it comes to like cannibalism and probably anything else that's like in that area of like fucked up sexual assaults and all that stuff, you know, like anything that's like not okay. In general, I know murder is also not okay, but I think when he's asked to assassinate somebody, he's like, okay, that's a task I can do. But if you ask him to prepare human meat, he's gonna be like, that is no, I won't do that out of my own moral kindness. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows what his reason is. Beverages also of nearly any kind, as with sandwiches, meat, human blood has been requested and denied. Pig blood, however, was served promptly, still warm. See, okay, so there's some limits of things that he wants to do, probably, because like just of how like immoral it might be. A brick of 99.8% pure gold. Mr. Deeds produced a brick. Yep, we read that. A brick of 99.24% pure silver, which apparently he gave that. A nuclear bomb, politely denied. Okay. A hand grenade of modern US military grade, which performed as an exception as expected in testing. A blue, the board game Monopoly, which Mr. Deeds won on the first playthrough. A Fabergé egg, politely denied. What is a Fabergé egg anyway? Because he denied that, which doesn't seem like something he would be able to deny. Yeah, that's probably under that's probably under theft. That's why maybe he's not going to do it. SP blank, politely deny. A bouquet of fresh picked red roses. A bouquet of wild turnbusty, politely denied. Turnbusty is not an actual known type of flower. Okay, and tasks. Cleaning of Dr. Mills' car performed to near perfection. Washing of dishes accumulated from a day's worth of meals from the cafeteria on level blank of blank performed to much higher standards than usual. Trimming of Dr. Mills' hair performed, but it turns out that Mr. Deeds is not in fact a very good barber. So okay, he has limits. Washing of Dr. Mills' laundry performed, and the clothing found to fit better in Dr. Mills' estimation. Assassination was that's the Namis didn't claim to be too well guarded and entrenched, but could not or would not give further details. Assassination of the Gleek has individual room. Yep, did that. The further tests with regards to Dr. Mills' personal effects are to be forbidden unless approved by one level 05 overseer. You've been warned, Dr. Mills. Yeah, I thought so. I was like, man, this guy is kind of going a bit crazy on spoiling himself. But yeah, okay, so it is. So very immoral stuff and things that are impossible because of like highly guarded or thievery, he will not do. Probably because like majority of the stuff he will like purchase or like try to get himself somehow. I don't know. He doesn't know, I don't know, but I do like this SCP a lot. SCP-662 was discovered in the possession of a petty thief and grave robber in blank blank USA. The thief was in the process of selling SCP-662 to a pawn shop in the mentioned town when the bell was accidentally rung by the pawn shop attendant. Mr. Deeds appeared from the storage area behind the counter and promptly addressed the attendant, believing that he was about to be robbed by the two men. The attendant overreacted and managed to get hold of a sawed-off shotgun from under the counter. Mr. Deeds was fatally wounded by an attendant and died on scene. Oh, that's the pawn shop incident. Oh. My poor Mr. Deeds. All he wanted to do was just serve. Just be like, what is your wish? And next thing you know, he gets fucking... The thief escaped but was apprehended by Foundation agents after a week-long search of surrounding towns. Under questioning, the thief revealed that he found the bell in its box in the grave of blank blank located on the outskirts of the above-mentioned town. He was then remitted for D-class personnel assignment and subsequently perished during testing of SB blank. Oh, I thought like that. I thought that he's the D-class that Mr. Deeds got to kill in the room next door when Dr. Murph asked for it, but okay, he got killed by a different SCP. The bell did not come under the purview of the Foundation until after the crime and subsequent transport of Mr. Deeds' body to the local morgue. After the disappearance of the body from the morgue, an agent was sent to investigate the possible outbreak of SCP blank or other unknown necrotic reinvigoration cause. Mr. Deeds reappeared in the case file item storage room of the local constabulary after the bell was handled by Sergeant Blank. He was quickly apprehended and Agent Blank took him into custody 3 hours after reappearance under the guise of an FBI agent. When the handcuffed Mr. Deeds once again disappeared, the agent intuited that the bell itself may have something to do with the string of incidents, and after acquiring it and testing his hunch, brought the bell back to Blank for further testing. Agent Blank was awarded an official Foundation pat on the back plaque for his handling of the incident and lack of self-serving interest once he discovered what the bell and Mr. Deeds were capable of. Yeah, like that is true. Like, he not only has he managed to like apprehend the thief and made him into a D-class, he also figured out what the situation was, and instead of being Dr. Murph, he was like, nope, I'm gonna bring you back to the Foundation and they will do with you, they will do tests on you as they usually do. That is, well, of course, only a pat on the back, no raise or anything, not extra money, no. We're not like that. You don't get to do good work around here and expect a raise. Hey, our first Euclid. This one's called Living Water Filter. Not sure how I feel about that name. Let me just check if people... Oh, my nose. Okay. I'm going to with this. This is kind of bothering me. Okay, Euclid. SCP-663 is to be kept in the second floor break room at Site 19. It is to remain in view of the security camera. Oh, I got a lot of text. Okay, we're good. Okay, kept in second floor break room at Site 19. It is to remain in view of the security cameras in a marked location near the sink. SCP-663 is to be filled with ordinary tap water every 6 hours. Under no circumstances should SCP-663 be filled with any other substance than tap water. Water will filter through SCP-663 reservoir in approximately 1 minute and 30 seconds. SCP-663 is not to be touched while in operation. In the event that filling the reservoir ceases to effectively subdue SCP-663, it is to be placed in a soundproofed isolation chamber for 7 days. At the end of the isolation period, all the trace of human bone marrow is to be removed from the filtration chamber. Okay. A level 2 researcher is to perform this task and take the marrow for subsequent study and disposal. In the event SCP-663 has been filled more than once per 6 hours, SCP-663 is to be transported to a thermally shielded small item container and observed by an individual with level 1 security clearance until SCP-663 has returned to a room temperature. SB663 is a blank brand water filtration pitcher, albeit lacking a serial number and possessing a slightly narrower top which lacks the hinge present on the typical blank pitchers. It appears to be capable of filtering any water-bearing solution into clean, drinkable water. Any water produced by SB663 is nearly completely deionized and lacks any distinctive taste. While SB663 is in the process of filtering the sound of a faint heartbeat, While SB663 is in the process of filtering the sound of a faint heartbeat can be heard emanating from the filter core. Okay. I was very confused how that worked. I was like, in the process of filtering the sound of a faint heartbeat. There was a comma missing. While SB663 is in the process of filtering, the sound of a faint heartbeat can be heard emanating from the filter core. A bit important, the comma. Because I was like, how does it filter a heartbeat? Additionally, the filtration process releases several joules of thermal energy per gram of filtered solution. If SB663's filter reservoir is refilled more than once within 6 hours, SB663's surface rapidly increases in temperature to blank degrees centigrade, blank Fahrenheit. SCP-663 will also begin to gurgle loudly during the heating process. After 1 minute of the thermal runaway state, a human voice can be heard coming from within SCP-663. The voice exhibits clear signs of distress consistent with drowning, typically screaming and begging that no more water be added to SCP-663. If SCP-663 goes more than 8 hours without being filled, the same voice will begin to speak from within SCP-663. Under this circumstance, the voice will again be in distress, this time sounding notably parched and pleading for water amid raspy, wheezing gasps. After blank minutes of pleading, the voice will begin to scream for help, claiming to be trapped and/or lost, as well as dying of thirst. After an additional blank minutes of screaming, the voice will begin to sob and ask if anyone is there. No action as of yet attempted by a foundation has allowed for communication with the voice. However, the voice will thank whoever reveals the picture, but often by name, then lapse into the usual silence. Then 1. Incident report blank 16. During a period of especially low staffing at Site 19, SB663 was not assigned any caretakers. As a result, the picture went unfilled for blank days. After 4 days of begging for water, SB663 began to exhibit new qualities, becoming confused, disoriented, and often lapsing into silence other than intermittent breathing. After a further blank days, the voice and accompanying heartbeat ceased, prompting a violent shudder from SB663, followed by a discharge of cerebrospinal fluid into the water tank. A few moments later, SB663 began to plead for water in a different voice. The second voice is still in use by SB663 as of present. Oh. So that whoever that voice was died and spinal fluid came. So that's why you have to occasionally just clean it up from like bone marrow. Investigation into Euclid's classification. Okay. You're serious about this rating? Entirely. You considered the consequences of this breaching containment. And the consequence of them finding out it's redacted. It's a blank. It's a blank. That's different. I'll consider it. You'll agree, Euclid is a necessary classification. But why there specifically? Same reason as the rest of my suggestions, better containment outlook. The council will argue for safe classification. The council can read my report, sir. This won't even get funding. I can establish the initial containment myself. For a blank. Why? Redacted. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Apparently he said something that made this guy go like, Yeah, no, you know what? That kind of makes sense. But we will never know. We, the audience, will never find out. The floor to know. I almost read the floor is lava. We're on the road. Wait, excuse me. We're on the road to nowhere. Ha! Ha! We're on the road to nowhere. There's a city in my mind. Come along and take this ride. It's alright. Maybe it's alright. It's not Euclid. Okay, flow to nowhere. Protocol G316U, containment of geographical immobile anomaly urban subset, is to be followed with a containment parameter establishing at the property's boundary. Testing is disallowed at this time. Description: SCP-664 is an anomaly affecting the appropriate area contained by the third floor of blank high school in blank, Pennsylvania, USA. SCP-664 is my nose itchy, that's what it is. Is invisible to all observations and measurement thus far attempted, and is discernible only by its effect on living biological organisms. Living biological organisms tests 5 to 12 detailed species tested to date, crossing the approximate edge of SCP-664, are invariably subject to spontaneous and instant disappearance shortly after full immersion into SCP-664's area of effect. Testing to date has yet to be satisfactorily established whether time, distance, or other factors dictate the exact moment of disappearance. Non-living material, including clothing and equipment, are not affected by SCP-664's effect. -1 is the collective term of any living biological organism that re-emerged from SCP-664. To date, 67% of biological organisms entering SCP-664 have subsequently returned, with a higher and lower proportion for sapient and non-sapient organisms respectively. To date, the time recorded between disappearance and return ranges from 43 seconds at the lowest limit to 142 days at the highest. So, but are they different? Do they change, is my question. Does something happen to their body? Returning instance of -1 has thus far been unable to provide description of their experience during the period of absence. So they cannot really tell what happened on the other side. The other side. On blank 1999, routine intake DNA testing of D48120 produced a match with researcher Daniel Ambridge of Foundation Employment since 1972, presently engaged in study of SCP blank. Both were placed under high-level covert surveillance. On blank 1999, D48120 was assigned for testing of SCP-664. On blank 1999, researcher Ambridge requested a transfer of assignment to SCP-664, which was approved following consultation with Foundation Internal Monitoring Group. Following entry into SCP-664 by D48120 and subsequent non-return after 300 days, researcher Ambridge was detained for questioning. Okay. Here comes the questioning, brother. Researcher Daniel Ambridge, Dr. Jennifer Steffen's son. I'm pleased that you intervened when you did and not before. I have been worried about what would have happened to me if you had stopped him. Do you mean D48120? That's right, myself, I should say. He didn't believe me at first, would you believe it? But it didn't take long to wear him down, sharing some of our memories that nobody else knew about that Karen girl, about some of the crimes we knew nobody else knew about some of the nasty little details that I'm ashamed to admit to now. I was an unpleasant man back then, bound for death. This whole twist of fate gave me a fresh beginning and a head start to do something good with my life. I'm glad to have had the opportunity. Describe again for me what you experienced following your entry into SCP-664. What more can I add? It was a long time ago, but I remember it quite well. One moment I'm there, in the old school with the older me standing with his colleagues watching and waiting with cold professionalism, hiding the collusion I knew he had underneath. All those days in my cell with him making me through every little detail of the Foundation, what I needed to do when I popped out the other side, how I needed to act and think. It was all a lot to take in. Apologies, you were asking about what happened when I stepped through. I'm afraid it's just like all the others, just nothingness. How I came out, though, that was different, I grant you. One moment the next I'm naked and frightfully cold, following the hay wagon just as my older self has described, every little detail. I found some clothes and made my way to blank, and the old Elsie was there just like he said she would be. A stranger to me then, of course, but she took me in, and from there I followed the path he set out for me, until the day came when I realized I could no longer tell where I had ended and he had begun. It was my turn to fulfill his half of the story, and my dear Elsie, she never knew that I had help getting into her heart. I knew all along that our life together was destined. Excuse me for a moment. Apologies again. It doesn't do to get emotional, I know. May I ask, why did nobody stop me? If you've been watching all this time, surely you must have known I was preparing him, feeding him information about the Foundation, about my life, and how to work this way to become me. I loaded him up with so many secrets. Wouldn't all that be far too much of an unacceptable information breach? I am not in a position to say. Yes, of course. Still, I can hypothesize. I'm pleased to see that the Foundation care more for the preservation of casualty than of securing the secrecy. Again, I'm not in a position to say. So, what happens now? I'm not in a... Alright, I understand. I dare say I have a little to complain about. Not every D-class gets a chance to become an old man. Thank you, and I mean it. Thank you so very much for everything. Document 1969, nice. 121 FBO 42-6, located in the Foundation archives, formerly of the Foundation precursor. Incident class unconfirmed, unexplained. Assignment Alpha Bravo. Event at 2 p.m. on Thursday, 14th March 1969. Nice. A white male of age 20 to 25 was observed to appear in mid-air approximately 30 feet above the ground of a field near Blank, Pennsylvania, USA. The male was observed by Mr. Dan McBride, into whose hay cart he reported to have landed. Mr. McBride reported the occurrence to local law enforcement, but the unknown male could not be located when apprehension was attempted. The unknown male remains at large and has been assigned person of interest 0001192. Okay. So from the looks of it, when they pass through it, it is nothingness, but they seem to like jump to different areas in the world somehow. At least that's how I'm understanding this. The Garbage Man. Garbage Day! Oh, this is short. SCP-665. Oh, we are one SCP away from 666 now. We're one SCP away. SCP-665 not to leave his room under any circumstance. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. Circumstances bearing a full site evacuation, which instance a specially designed stainless steel crate has been constructed. Do we still have ginger ale in the fridge? No, I think me and Liam drank it. I'm actually going to check real quick because I'm a bit thirsty. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to get myself some water if there's no ginger ale. there's no ginger ale, but I have this apple cherry Holunder drink with me, so that will do for now. Let's go on. SCP-665 is not to leave his room under any circumstances bearing a full evacuation, which instances, especially the stainless steel crate has been constructed. SCP-665 room is to be constructed entirely of stainless steel or a similar metal. SCP-665 bed is to consist of a single mattress specifically constructed to have a mass greater than 1,000 kilograms, a whole ton. SCP-665 is only to be fed a specially formulated liquid diet, which is to be dispensed into the drinking glasses fused into his hand. What? SCP-665 is allowed access to live animals provided that said animals are not wearing a collar or other similar adornment, and that he does not attempt to feed said animals. Physical contact with SCP-665 is highly discouraged. If it becomes necessary, it is to be done with bare skin only and to be kept to a minimum. Description: SCP-665 is a human male, age blank. All of his information, including his species, was obtained through an interview. He has refused to provide further information, see addendum. Further physical description cannot be given at this time, as SCP-665 external appearance changes frequently. Any non-living solid object with a mass less than that of SCP-665 that comes in contact with SCP-665's body instantaneously fuses to it. Within 1 hour, the object will effectively become part of SCP-665's body and will affect smaller objects in the same manner. It is worth noting that this means SCP-665's mass increases with each item added, therefore all personnel are advised against adding any further objects. That's okay. I see. Surgical analysis of SCP-665 has proven difficult. Probably because it gets like fused with him, right? As most surgical instruments are simply assimilated into his body. Yep, that's what I thought. The few items isolated from SCP-665 via a bisecting laser have revealed that SCP-665 cardiovascular system had expanded to include these items. Furthermore, although these items retained their original appearance, the inherent chemical properties were more closely resemble those of human flesh. It is not presently known how SCP-665 was able to obtain nourishment prior to containment, as the aforementioned drinking glasses were added by the Foundation specifically for the purpose of containing liquid nourishment. Addendum: SCP-665 has recently proven to be largely incooperative with Foundation personnel in refusing to answer questions or submit to examination. While SCP-665 has not shown any signs of violence, it must be stressed that personnel are expressly prohibited from introducing any item to SCP-665 that may conceivably be used as a weapon. Oh man, okay. Garbage day. Alright. The big boy number. Okay, so it's just like this. Okay. Alright. Spirit Lodge. SCP-666 is to be stored in a monitored closed vault at all times at Site-73. In the Tibetan mountains, guards are to be changed weekly, must pass a background check before being assigned to the post, and proven free of drug and alcohol addiction. Wow, okay. SCP-666 is to be entered only by D-class personnel in approved testing procedures or by approved Foundation researchers with level 4 or higher security clearance. Non-D-class personnel will enter SCP-666 whether or not they have revealed a prior history of addiction must be observed by a guard at all times. If they show any sign of being affected by SCP-666, they also be removed immediately. Description: SCP-666 is a medium-sized Tibetan yurt made of tied wooden branches and covered in a yak leather. The interior ceiling is 2.44 meters high and I thought my phone rang. high, and the base of the yurt is 9.14 meters. The hut is circular in shape. The interior of the yurt has a dirt floor and appears to be as crude as the outside to the majority of observers. The branches that make up the yurt frame are wrapped in rabbit fur and tied with yak leather thongs. Periodically, SCP-666 will change its location within its confinement area. This will happen only when not under direct observation, but remote viewing gives the impression of an entity inside the structure leaving it wholly and moving to its new position. To date, it has not made any attempt to escape confinement. Oh, so it looks like somebody is living in there. Maybe the abominable snowman. SCP-666 was discovered in 1973 by SCP operatives searching the mountain regions on reports of several missing persons having returned from the area, giving similar explanations. Seeking shelter during harsh weather, the individuals would happen upon SCP-666 by seeming happenstance, having gone out in similar conditions. The exploration team was also able to discover the yurt. Of the 3 operatives present, 2 experienced no ill effects. The third entered a stupor, experiencing vivid hallucination and muttering incoherently to himself. Upon retrieval of the team, the yurt was recovered and taken to a nearby Site 73 for further investigation. When an individual with no history of significant addiction enters the yurt remains dormant and seems to have no ill effects. Class D personnel without a history of alcohol or narcotics abuse were able to sit inside the yurt for days at a time if provided proper nourishment, and did report a greater intensity in their dreams. Okay. Individuals who have a history of substance abuse, however, will experience a hallucinogenic effect when inside the structure. In all instances, the subject report being in a location either from the memories or corollary thereof. Specifically, a spot where the addiction was at its most intense. Thus far, there have been reports of a nightclub bathroom, a 1973 Volkswagen Vanagon, a filthy alleyway, the redacted casino in Las Vegas, etc. One subject reported finding himself in a dirty apartment with a prostitute named Chloe, with whom he frequently indulged in narcotics abuse. Another reported being in his own bedroom with a computer setup significantly more intricate than he owned before his arrest for distribution of child pornography. Okay. I will say it now. Yurt. This guy, you can fuck him up good, please. Just destroy him. Mentally make him unrecoverable. Just brain just goes boom, please. During this hallucination, subject report that they are confronted by an individual referred to as -1. Description of -1 vary widely from person to person, with no commonality to race, gender, or appearance beyond being typical for the surroundings. So, if he's like in a city, he looks like a city guy. If they're in the mountains, looks like a hiker, and so on and so forth. Okay. -1 will indulge the subject in the personal addiction, although at the start it will have a passive-aggressive attitude. As time progresses, the subject is encouraged to indulge further while simultaneously being encouraged to stop. Should the subject show remorse or a strong desire to give up the addiction, -1 will slowly adopt a more genuinely friendly tone and continue the temptation with discouragement and hallucinations. Approximately 94% of the subjects who have gone through this form of hallucination to the end have been diagnosed as having a near-complete removal of psychological addiction, though physical symptoms will persist through a natural withdrawal cycle. Okay, so it's a rehab yurt. Where thing just shows up and like, listen bro, you don't want to do this. Actually you do, but don't do it. But you do, but don't do it. And if you don't do it, he's like, my man, you can still do it, but hey, honestly, you're doing really good right now, so I would not recommend. You can still do it though, if you really want to, but you're doing really good right now. If the subject gives in to -1's temptation, then it becomes increasingly hostile. Okay. There is no set timetable, no degree of indulgence, but left unchecked, -1 will invariably begin assaulting the subject and forcing the subject to rise upon them to levels of extreme overdose. If the subject is not forcibly removed from SCP-666 during this period, they will die. Cause of death is typical of the addiction, whereby an alcoholic will suffer extreme kidney or liver failure. A cocaine user will develop cardiac dysrhythmia. A subject addicted to video games or television will suffer extreme muscle atrophy and health issues associated with a sedentary lifestyle, etc. Damn. Couldn't be me. Just kidding. Well, no, I'm kidding that I would not have a sedentary lifestyle, or I don't have muscle atrophy yet, but yeah, I don't know if I would go in that yurt and then be like, yeah, let's play some games. Nah. I'll just be like, yeah, no, I'm good. This is not really the place to play games. Although, like, it is, games feels like, I don't know, it's also an addiction, isn't it? But it feels like, yeah, I probably would play, if I had a Switch with me, I probably would play inside a yurt as well. But at the same time, a yurt, like, well, I don't know. What about reading books? What if you addict to reading books? Do you just, like is every addiction bad in this entity's eyes, or is it just things that society deems as bad? Because, like, yes, I do agree that alcohol and drugs are horrible. If you're addicted to that stuff, it's horrible to you. Video games, if you really addict, like, to the extent where, you know, you don't leave the room, you don't shower, you don't eat, that's also horrible. But in the same time, video games are such a split, right? It's such a nice split in the middle where, like, it can be horrible, but it can also be positive for people. So does any addiction count? Food, books, movies, porn? I mean, yeah, I guess porn will count, yes. Yeah, like music. I guess it's the case then. Like, it would just somehow make you, if you do fall for the addiction that you have, this entity will just hurt you physically and mentally in such a way that has to do with the addiction. With music, probably you become deaf, because, like, it would like play music like way too loud into your ears until, like, your drums pop, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. To date, there has been no clear connection between who will and will not succumb to -1. The working hypothesis is that it's simply a matter of the individual's willpower and conviction. All attempts to interview -1 directly have failed, with the entity either redirecting the conversation or bluntly refusing to answer. The only statement that reveals anything to its nature was a single instance of "we're not important here, this is all about you." This indicates that there are either multiple entities attached to SCP-666 or there are additional instances of SCP-666 in the world. Investigation is ongoing as to whether similar stories have arisen should another instance of SCP-666 be discovered. It is to be transferred immediately to Site 73. Addendum 1, nearly identical stories have recently arisen in remote areas of northern Canada, describing a Wendigo hut. While unconfirmed, the similarities point to at least one additional instance of SCP-666 at large. Okay. Maybe there's, like, multiple different types, like Wendigo hut, a yurt. Maybe there's, like, just a tent, a plaza. Not a plaza, what is it called? What is it called? I can't think of it right now. But yeah, there's probably, like, multiple different styles of, like, either transportable places, homes, or non-transportable homes. It might be, like, I don't know. I already tried to give examples, I couldn't, so let's just keep on reading. Interview log with test subject 14390 regarding experience in SCP-666, audio only. Well, it's not audio for us, at least. It's I remember when SCP-001 had audio only logs, where you just press it and it was actually an audio or film. Of course, that would require a lot more work, but Dr. Lannis, D14390, and date 4/17/19 blank. Subject D14390. How are you feeling? Not bad, Doc, not bad. Kinda wanna take another nap in the tent. Well, that's what we're here to talk about. Please describe your experience inside of SB666. No sweat there, Doc. See, I just stroll in like you said, have myself a seat. Why the fuck are people outside yelling? It's raining. Next thing I know, I'm in this hole in the wall back home in Redactor with this sweet bitch Chloe. Oh yeah, she was pricey and she wasn't the best looking trick south of Kennedy, but she had some connections. Never did meet up with her the ones that we weren't getting high. Note, Chloe was the working name of a prostitute that D14390 was with at the time of his arrest. Very well, please describe the scenario for me. Well, it was bobbing, right? Kinda dingy, a little messy, like she hadn't cleaned it in a couple weeks, but I wasn't there for the scenery, you know? So I dropped my cash off in the living room table and we head into the bedroom. I shoot up with her, I used my own needle of course, and then we get freaky. I mean, we did everything under the sun and a couple that never saw the light of day. She knew positions I never did, and I had drugs I hadn't even heard of. About halfway through, I needed to pick me up, so I snorted a couple lines of Colombian off her ass, and this guy is going nuts. I think that's enough, D14390. For the sake of brevity, please keep the rest of your testimony in regards to the anonymous entity -1. The what now? The person who tempted you in your hallucinations. All right. Well, it was around the time that she was offering me this opium shit. She said she got off a Chinaman. The whole time she'd been saying stuff in kind of funny way, like those whatchamacallit backhanded compliments. That's the stuff. Well, I started taking a couple of pulls of the opium and I'm feeling mellow, but she's just glaring at me, right? So I ask what's up and she hauls off and punches me in the face. Not like this fragile little crack whore would either. I mean, I thought I was going 10 with Tyson right about now. She starts screaming at me, calling me weak, saying I'm pathetic, just giving in, you know, bitch shit. So I kick her in the chest and that's when shit got weird. Next I know she's got me on the ground and her arms are around my throat. Her eyes get huge and bloodshot and shit. I feel her nails sticking to the side of my neck. And hand to God, dog, she was shooting shit into me. Oh, like the Freddy, the Freddy fucking syringe fingers in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where it's like, oh boy, yeah. That was horrible when that happened. That was like probably the most disgusting one, because like she had like these like gaps that were like, and I was like, ugh. And then Freddy's like, ooh. Excuse me. And that was when the guards pulled you out of the tent. Yeah, seems I wasn't just freaking out in a dream. Weird shit was about like 5 seconds after I got pulled out, I hear Chloe's voice again, but it's all low and growly, and it sounded like she said, "You can't stop." Thank you, D14390. I just have one last question after all this. You said you want to go back in. Why? Well, it's simple, right? She was scary and all, but man, I've never been that high in my life, and with the shit that goes on in this place, I figure I'm not long for the world anyway. So I may as well go out with a smile, right? Note, following the interview with D14390 repeatedly volunteered for additional testing with SB666, Dr. Lennis finally relented. D14390 began screaming approximately 3 seconds after entering the hallucinatory state and expired from cardiac arrest less than 1 minute later. No. Okay, go in. Yeah. That's what I imagine. Wow. So basically, it is a rehab. It's a rehab yurt. The entity in there hopes that you are going to stop whatever your addiction is, and if you don't, you get absolutely decked on. Okay, next one. Fairy Gutsu. This is the third last one. We're getting to the end. We might be done by like 15 past midnight, maybe even 30 past midnight, who knows. Depends how long. Hey, Keita! Depends how long the other two are. -1 prior to trimming. Wow. The primary sample of -1 is to be trimmed to an area of 0.5 square kilometers and maintained regularly to prevent it from expanding outside its current habitat. The perimeter of -1's habitat is to be cleared of vegetation in a 30-meter radius and fenced to prevent unauthorized access, and a region within a 3-kilometer radius of the habitat is to be designated off-limits to civilian hikers or recreationists to prevent contact with -2. Surveillance personnel are authorized to employ pesticides or fire to neutralize any instance of -2 attempting to exit the containment zone. Where did I hear that before? It sounds familiar. There's like a similar SCP that's like growing, and you have to use fire to prevent it from like growing too fast and then pop out. No, that was something else. That was like a vase with things inside. That's what it was. Never mind. There's so many SCPs that have plantations and growing stuff. During periods when -2 is observed to be active, maintenance personnel to withdraw from the habitat, and individual adult mammal or individual D-class awaiting scheduled termination is to be introduced into the habitat after being tagged with a radio tracking or GPS device. D-class personnel may be issued audio or video equipment at project manager discretion. Feeding is to continue at a rate of an individual per day until -2 becomes inactive. Additional samples of -1 may be produced from cuttings and grown within prescribed limits in a fully contained area at O5 discretion. All attempts to capture a live sample of -2 are currently prohibited pending development of a means to counteract its mind-affecting properties. Any -2 remains recovered are to be transferred to Site-33 for necropsy analysis and archival. SCP-667 is a symbiotic pairing consisting of a colony of flowering vines of an unclassified species morphologically similar to Pueraria lobata kutsu, designated -1, and an unclassified species of flying creature possessing insectoid and humanoid morphological qualities, designated -2. Okay. Oh, that's why fairy, because it looks like human but it has insect wings, right? Are they like Tinkerbell size? Or are they regular human size? The only known instance of SCP-667 in the world is located in the wilderness area in the southeastern United States, approximately blank kilometer of blank blank, and covering an area of blank square kilometers prior to being trimmed to its current size. Forensic analysis of skeletal remains found with -1 indicate that it was introduced to the region shortly after the introduction of kutsu to the United States in the late 19th century. So, the original area that the plants came from could be somewhere else then. Or the original area doesn't have any anomalous effect and it just happened to pop up once it reached the USA. In the presence of adequate nutrition, -1 is capable of growing at a rate considerably greater than that of a standard kutsu plant. Samples in captivity under ideal conditions have been observed to grow as rapidly as 2.5 meters per day. Wow. -1 is capable of planting roots in almost any form of soil or soft organic tissue and will grow along or over the surface of any foreign matter in the path of its growth, including trees, structures, automobiles, or animal life. -1 is primary source of nutrition derived from humans or other large mammals. Upon encountering a sleeping, paralyzed, or dead animal within its path of growth, -1 will rapidly grow around and through the creature, gradually consuming and metabolizing its remains to further its growth. -1's vines, flowers, and roots contain large quantities of alkaline compounds which render it unpalatable to human beings and all other animal species besides -2 on which it has been tested. Mature -2 organisms are approximately 7.5 centimeters in length, so they are Tinkerbell size, with 2 large wings extending the entire length of the organism. The sections indicate that -2 internal biology is similar to that of insects of the family Lampyridae. Fireflies. -2 exoskeleton strongly resembles a miniaturized human being, with the organism's thorax being contained within the chest cavity and the abdomen, and bioluminescent organ concealed within the legs. Male and female -2 organisms have been recovered. Female -2 organisms reproduce by laying eggs, which hatch as larvae, burrowing into the soils underneath -1s and emerging as mature insect the following year. The current wild population of mature -2 organisms are at any given time is estimated to be less than 5,000, as many as blank are believed to have existed prior to trimming. Mature -2 organisms dwell exclusively underneath and around -1 and subsist by feeding on the nectar produced by -1's flower. When -1's flower growth begins to slow due to deficiencies in its food supply, swarms of several hundred -2 organisms separate from the main colony and will travel outward until encountering any medium to large-sized mammal in the area. -2 swarms are almost always active only during nighttime hours and are bioluminescent, producing a highly visible green glow throughout the entire organism. All human beings directly observing an -2 swarm have described a strong hypnotic effect and a compulsion to follow the swarm, which inevitably results in the swarm leading the mesmerized humans to the edge of -1's current path of growth. Non-human mammals have similarly displayed compulsion to follow the swarm and obliviousness to outside stimuli. Upon reaching the edge of -1, the mesmerized individual will sit or stand still and continue to observe the swarm until dying of thirst, exposure, or as the result of being engulfed by -1. At the time of trimming, skeletal remains of approximately blank distinctly identifiable mammals, including blank humans, were recovered from the cleared area. Wow, this SCP has a high kill count. Like, not only on humans, but also on animals. The men, the women, and the children too. SCP-667 came to the Foundation's attention in 2000 blank, following a dramatic increase of missing persons within the redacted wilderness area in the state of blank United States. United States Forest Service official identified SCP-667-1 as the cause of the missing persons, and upon the loss of several personnel to -2 swarms, contacted the Foundation's liaison within the Department of Agriculture, leading to the establishment of Foundation containment over the area. At the time of discovery, -1 had become highly invasive, and its growth was projected to reach the outskirts of the city of Redacted within less than a decade. Approximately 90% of -1 was destroyed by incineration on the pretense of a forest fire in order to reduce the colony size to a manageable level. Examination of the region indicates that almost all of SCP-667-1's growth had occurred within the past 20 years. The Foundation's current working hypothesis is that -2 was introduced to the region within the time, and the development of a symbiotic relationship between itself and -1 allowed it to begin expanding outward at a significantly greater rate than it had previously. Wow, I can see why it's considered key though, because like it can lure anybody into it. It can grow. Probably, if you leave it alone, it will definitely grow around the earth. Well, I'm not sure how well it does with salt water and if it can cross oceans and all that, but it definitely could grow and like just cover an entire continent. And then, but then after a while, like let's just say it's America, right? So North and South America gets covered by this thing, and then yeah, after a while, like there's no humans in that continent. So Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, they just stay away from it. They're like, okay, we don't want to be there. We're good where we are right now. We're good. So this thing would potentially die. It would kill a shit ton of animals and humans, but after a while, it would have nothing left to. It would not have anything left to eat from, because everything else is like a far distance, unless it can travel over water, over oceanic water. Then eventually the whole Earth's gonna be swallowed up by this thing. Holy shit! How long is the incident report? Oh, that's pretty short. What do we have here? 13th chef's knife. Okay, this one is a Euclid. Pretty good rating, I gotta say. Special containment procedures revised as a data response. No special containment procedures aside from standard security are required. SCP-668 is to be transferred to a locked safe deposit box at Site 19's high-value item storage facility. Standard defenses against intrusion, explosive, chemical, biological, and mimetic are to be in place at all times. According to standard operation procedure, SCP-668 may only be removed from its safe deposit box by personnel with security clearance 2 or higher. Individuals wishing to make use of SCP-668 outside Site 19 must first submit a Form 668 requested course of action Form 20511 and be fitted with an explosive kill switch collar on a 24-hour timer before taking SCP-668 into the field. An auditing officer with security clearance 4 or higher must confirm that SCP-668 has been returned to its safe deposit box before the collar is deactivated. Description: SCP-668 is a 33 cm 13 inches chef knife with a rosewood handle and full tank construction crafted at some point from the late 1930s or to the early 1940s. When first acquired by field operative, SCP-668 was in badly rusted condition with heavy pitting from bloodstains and other bodily fluids trapped in micro crevices within the blade. Ew. Following thorough analysis, these irregularities were removed for aesthetic purposes. This has had negligible, if any, effects on SCP-668's special properties. The first recorded appearance of SCP-668 was in the 1960s during the infamous Data Expunged case. Data Expunged, a New York woman living alone, was allegedly raped and murdered by a subject. Data Expunged. Despite the fact that 38 witnesses reported hearing the attack, none of them attempted to aid the young woman for over 6 hours until her eventual death. Whether the item received its properties due to this event or whether it had been beforehand is a matter of debate. See Dr. Redacted. It's paper the bystander effect versus Dr. Redacted theories regarding psychic imprintation. What is clear, however, is the current properties when carried by a human or humanoid entity with a violent intent towards another human or humanoid entity. SCP-668 broadcasts a psychic signal that renders all sentient beings with a psionic resistance index of 97 or lower incapable of resisting the victim. It's a fucking Pennywise knife. Now, for anybody who doesn't understand what I'm trying to say, in the movies it didn't really indicate or like hint on this power of his. They only like showed a little bit. But Pennywise, he's able to influence adults to not help out the kids. He has a magic power that stops the adults from like interacting or aiding or assisting the children whenever they're in trouble, when they get bullied. Like there's some moments that get shown. You know, like for example in I believe both the original and the remake, Ben gets bullied and then an adult sees it and then just ignores it and walks away. So I'm not sure if it's in the original first movie with Tim Curry, if it was Ben, but one of the children gets like attacked and then they just walk away, and that's also the reason why like the father acts so weird, the parents act really weird, and like all act differently because Pennywise has a certain influence on them, and that's what it does here basically as well. In the moment you want to help, something tells you like, yeah, no, I'm not, no. Affected entities report a sudden sense of apathy while under SCP-668's influence. Sensory input is not affected, and affected entities report feeling revulsion and horror, but are simply incapable of acting even indirectly to assist the victim. Meanwhile, it renders the victim incapable of defending themselves against their attacker. Oh, this is awesome. What? This is awful is what I wanted to say. What was the other word? What? I want to say awful, but there was an S word. Let me see. That was similar. That is a synonym to awful, and that became a mix then. Awful. Nope. Can't find it. Frightful. But that's not it either. But it is frightful though. Yeah, I want to say disgusting and awful, and somehow like became all it almost sound like awesome. And I was like, no, for the love of God, Afro, it's not at all. It's the worst kind of thing. For anybody that wants to not be attacked, this is the worst. That's. I can't believe my mouth almost said that. What is clear, however, yeah. Tests using Class D personnel have shown no upper limit in the number of entities affected by the psychic resonance. In one test, 12 Class D personnel due to the first of the month's nomination were placed in a room alongside a researcher who was told to randomly select one test subject for death. The researcher killed all test subjects one by one despite the professed horror. Prior incidents have indicated that the possibility of hundreds, if not thousands of deaths due to SCP-668 unique properties. See Incident Report A, redacted mall massacre and subsequent information blackout operations. Well, we're going to read it right now. It's a bit shorter than the one we had before. Personnel involved, data expunged, date redacted, location redacted, description on blank city police department precinct blank responded to a report of a man attacking and killing bystanders with large chef's knives at a local mall. Upon responding, officers discovered 15 casualties, most of whom have been ritually flensed in a manner described by witnesses as horrific. Officers discovered the suspect, an escaped serial killer named henceforth referred to as suspect, in a child daycare area. Oh no, please no. Child daycare area in the process of filleting and consuming a 9-year-old boy. Yeah, awful, frightful, disgusting, all of that. Officers ordered suspect to cease and desist. Suspect did not comply. Officers then attempted to fire upon suspect but discovered that they were unable to pull the trigger. Officers then attempted to flee but found themselves unable to do so after suspect declared his intention to murder every last one of you motherfucking pigs. Suspect then proceeded to data expunge, ending with Cynthia Wallace, a Foundation operative embedded as an observer with the blank PD. Despite being under severe psychic assault, Officer Wallace, a pseudonym, managed to activate her emergency transport located to a belt while complying with suspect's order to blank, alerting the Foundations of the situation. Mobile Task Force P1 City Slickers arrived on the scene 10 minutes later. Disguised as an FBI Special Anti-Terrorist Task Force, PI-1 breached the perimeter at corresponding with the moment that Officer Wallace vital signs telemetry ceased transmitting. Oh, so she died the moment they arrived. Task Force members discovered suspects standing outside the blank department store on the 3rd floor of the mall. The police officer bodies were found suspended from the 3rd floor railing, skin flensed and arranged in the form of wings, and entrails were removed and trailing to the floor. Officer Wallace's body was found. They expunged. That's why I was thinking, like, yeah, if you give the knife to someone like him, he's gonna go crazy with this power. SCP operators then attempt to terminate the suspect, only to discover that they were unable to fire their weapons. Team leader transmitted Class 1 Type 73 mimetic attack alert to a command and ordered the team to withdraw. This order failed when suspects stated to his intention to find out what all your insides look like, rendering them helpless to escape. Involved task force members were subsequently remote terminated using surgically installed cranial detonators according to the standard field protocol following psychic compromise in the field agent. Well, how did this guy get captured or defeated? The only way is probably with a sniper, right? Who's like far, if there's like a range. Common elements then authorize escalation of force to tier 2, severe collateral damage. Aerial bombardment was attempted but failed when the pilots were unable to release the payloads over the target. It was due to determine that the psychic field that prevents hostile intent towards suspect might have an infinite range. Oh boy. So how do you beat him? Escalation of force to Tier 3 was considered but delayed, while Dr. Gear's suggestion an alternate strategy with a higher chance to retrieve the item intact. Hypothesizing that hostile intent was required for the psychic controls to trigger, the Dr. Gear's suggestion using Class D personnel under mind control by SCP-061, which was... that is... auditory mind control. Well, that helps, but what does it do again? What does this one do again? Oh, is that the one? Four copies of the CD-ROM with source enforced of its loggers shall never be run or played on any connection to the internet as well as any device. It's a music program that convinces the brain that the mind is asleep, which yes, that's what. I completely forgot about this one. Previously prepped sleepwalker agents fitted with surgically implanted earpieces transmitting SCP-061 were given the following commands. D-061-056 was ordered to give the following commands to the rest of the personnel through radio control. D-061-056 was not given any indication as a reason for said commands to prevent the psychic defense from triggering. Agents were able to order D-061-056 to give the following orders, suggesting that the psychic defense may only be able to function through a certain number of iterations. More research is required on this issue. D-061-059 through 070, 12 personnel were ordered to carry explosive charges or 12 predetermined points, opening gas mains along the way. Explosives were detonated in sequence upon being given the final order by D-061-056. Why don't you send like one D-class in there that has explosives strapped to him that activate once he dies? I guess that's too extreme, because then like the SCP might get damaged and they couldn't test on it. Blah, 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 blah. But right now I would just think of getting rid of that guy first. D-061-099, who fit the profile of the subject's preferred type of victim, was ordered to move to a predetermined location at the center of the mall to lure the suspect to the best location for both ensuring a kill and allowing for easy retrieval of the remains. This person has the shittiest job. Finally, 6 D-class personnel not under control by SCP-061 were ordered to capture the subject. These Class D personnel were not expected to complete the mission and served as a delaying action while the mind control operators carried out the mission. The operation was wait, didn't it say it just makes you think that you're asleep? Did I miss something? I mean, yeah, it makes you think you're asleep, but you can also like probably control you that way anyway. Which stops all thought and allows the body to follow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're sleepwalking, command-driven person. Yeah, of course. I forgot about that. The operation was a success by utilizing multiple personnel, none of whom were aware of the significance of their action. None of the personnel knew that their actions were later determining the suspect and were thus able to act freely. Suspects were retrieved from the rubble by a bomb-diffusing robot and placed in a box lined with SCP-6. That one. Oops, no. Was the Telekill alloy? Yes, of course. Before being retrieved by Foundation personnel following confirmation of capture, command ordered Tier 3 nuclear detonation elements to stand down from ready 5 status and declared the incident contained. A cover story blaming the attack on the terrorists was formulated and disseminated to the public. Control testing has determined that the suspect's weapon, the 13-inch chef's knife, was the active agent in the incident, emitting a psionic command that data response suspect remains otherwise sent to blank PD along with a replica knife. The original weapon is to be designated Akita level SCP-668 and sent to Site 19 for further testing. How the suspect acquired SCP-668 is unknown at this time. It is further known that the obsessive nature of the subject method of killing may have contributed to the success of this operation. The subject carried out its killing in a ritualistic manner, maximizing the amount of horror, pain, and suffering inflicted on its victims. For this reason, Foundation personnel were able to keep him contained within an enclosed area of the mall and formulate a plan of action Should the subject have made the decision to leave the mall and continue its killing spree elsewhere, immediate Tier 3 response by a double-blind operator would have been the only possible method of containing the incident. Whew! This has a hardcore dog story behind it. Damn. Don't give this knife to who is it? The grandma that kills children to make life essence out of it. Like, don't give this knife to her, because then she like literally has nobody will be able to stop her. Recovery of SCP-668 in such scenarios is problematic due to the item's plastic properties. Agents attempting to apprehend the subject during containment failure incidents are often themselves affected by SCP-668's so-called apathy field. I mean, I guess in this case, just keep SCP-061 close. Keep this SCP in the same site as 061, so that way, whenever there is a breach, all you gotta do is send one of the agents to 061, hypnotize him, and be like, grab 668, and then he will do it. Resulting in casualties among Foundation personnel following incidents. A standard retrieval protocol includes the use of a long-range sniper rifle, double-blind conditions, and 3 different agents working in tandem through carefully coordinated actions to prevent any of them realizing that they are actively opposing the subject. Okay, that works too, but seems like a bit more of a hassle. Because of the obvious apocalyptic possibilities, it is a recommendation of this panel that SCP-668 to be designated a key level threat and placed in a high level containment. But it's Euclid. It's Euclid. It still is. Following further testing, it has been determined that the test subject wielding SCP-668 can be terminated through passive response so long as the terminating agent is introduced before the subject takes possession of SCP-668. The Running Man Protocol, see Appendix B, approved terminating agents is hereby approved for use with SCP-668, and the item in question is hereby reclassified as a Euclid type object. Okay, that's why. And then B, use of Omega-7 personnel to retrieve of SCP-668 during future containment failure incident is hereby forbidden due to the danger of. Is that who I think it is? Is that who I think it is? Able. It's always fucking Able. 076. Coming into contact with the item addendum 668 is be revoked as of data expunged to the express the state of using an item that in its own word takes all the fun out. Possibility of using SCP-076 as a solo agent for any future containment failure incidents under review. With the ending of Omega-7 project, no further attempts to weaponize 076-2 or SCP-668 are to be attempted. Then C, also crossed out. Do not, under any circumstances, allow SCP-668 to come in contact with SCP-682. Note that although average human beings have a psionic resistance index of 24, SCP-682 has been tested with a psi-rai of redacted, placing it above 668's threshold of effect. The possibilities of a creature inimical to all life gaining possession of something like this should be obvious. With the end of the Omega-7 project, no further attempts to weaponize SCP-682 or SCP-668 are to be attempted. And then D. Request to reclassify SCP-668 under its original designation as a key class object under review. And then E. Request to reclassify SCP-668 under its original designation as a key class object denied. SCP-668 will remain at Euclid classification. Okay, this one has a very intense story behind it, but it's also really messed up. It's definitely very messed up of what it allows a person to do. No person should have this type of power. Okay, last one. A didactic perspective. Safe. SCP-669, nice, is to be kept in a lead-lined safety deposit, crossed out, on Site 19. Any person that will be granted access to SCP-669, nice, must have complete. How about SCP-669? how about we say it like that? Must have completed a training session led by an individual with do/669 clearance. Following Incident -1, SCP-669 is to be encased in a Faraday cage vessel consisting of a grounded copper shell and a solid alumina insert holding the item in place. 669 is to be removed from containing vessel only in designated testing area, so it does not interfere with Site 19 electronics. SCP-669 is spare of a radius 2.6 cm resembling a large bearing. When inactive, SCP-669 weighs approximately 560 grams. The surface of SCP-669 contains numerous sites of corrosion and pitting, as well as remains of a cadmium blue paint. The surface temperature of SCP-669 appears to vary between 32.1 and 33.8 degrees Celsius. This appears independent of the temperature and thermal conductivity of its surroundings. The composition of SCP-669 is currently unknown. The surface of SCP-669 indicates its composition to be mild carbon steel. However, its density as well as an inertia testing data suggests a non-uniform internal structure. SCP-669 activates when placed within 54. Jesus. I don't know why 5 and 4. Ever since I've been reading SCP to a stream, 5 and 4 keep getting mixed. I don't know why. I mean, me saying 45 makes sense because of my German side, because we don't say the first number first. 54 in German will be 54. So 4 and 50. So yeah, we have it the other way around. So sometimes I remember when I first learned about numbers in English, and I was like, my brain just always has like moments of like, oh god, it's the other way around, isn't it? So yeah, but also with 4 and 5 for some reason, it's just my brain just swaps them. I don't know why. Of any object but only when I read SCPs on stream. It never does it anywhere else. Of any object launched in itself and set into motion. While active, SCP-669 appears to lack gravitational mass. Instead, it describes an orbit around the object at one of the set of distance up to 54 centimeters from the object's surface. It says here, SCP-669 always orbits at one of the set of 4 to 9 discrete distance located in a range 0 centimeters to 54 centimeters. However, the precise values vary with every activation. Collisions with an object launched in itself cause SCP-669 to relocate into orbit around the colliding object. If SCP-669 is exposed to a suitable light source of sufficient brightness, see experiment log 669, it proceeds to move into the next further orbit. If no such orbit exists, SCP-669 will either deactivate or proceed to fly at a tangent to its original orbit until colliding with another suitable object. Pushing SCP-669 into an orbit close to an object closer to an object it orbits requires a force of approximately 50 newtons and is accompanied by a brief photo emission of seemingly random frequency from SCP-669's surface. Recovery log: SCP-669 was recovered from the depository of Istanbul Modern Art Museum on April 4, 1950 blank, after having been previously exposed to an annual current Eastern European sculpture retrospective as a part of the exhibit titled Rutherfordian Atom, a diegetic perspective. Visual records recovered indicate that the exhibit contained further instances of SCP-669 as well as an agglomeration of at least blank similar objects, none of which are recovered. SCP-669 was not listed in that exhibition's catalog, and neither its purported artist 1 G blank P blank nor Lomonosov Makarenko Institute for Scientific and Political Education appear to figure in any official records. On blank blank 1960 blank, during the course of an experiment led by researcher Arnold Scheiner, SCP-669 deactivated after a minor collision within 15 seconds of reactivation. SCP-669 suddenly developed an electric field sufficient to strip electrons from objects within a radius of approximately half a meter, resulting in the death of researcher Scheiner and extensive damage to electronic devices in the laboratory and adjacent areas. Containment procedures updated. Okay, that was the last one. Wow. What a roller coaster. It feels like it's went like this, then jumped, stayed up a little bit, and then the last one kind of like went back down. Only the last one though. I think like, yeah, like so. You know what? Hold on. Here we go. Here's my list. Yeah, so I had the most fun with the Butler's Handbill. It's also the one SCP that I can imagine making myself as well. Spirit Lodge is fucking intense, but it can be positive if you have the right amount of will. But it is definitely an intense one. 13th Chef's Knife. I think the story is what sold it. It is an awful story. It's like as in like what happens in the story is awful to hear. Like if that ever happened in real life, that would be devastating. Fairy Kutsu, yeah. I think it's pretty good for a keto. I think like it's very simple but still like imaginative. It's this beautiful like vine and grass and flora that's just rapidly grows, and then there's just fairy-like creatures that just go after you and hypnotize you and wants you come with us. Let me show you something nice. And then next thing you know, you die. Salesman Too Good to Be True. Yeah, the idea is very similar to like the Purple Man from Jessica Jones, as I said, and I'm pretty sure there's other like bad villains or superheroes. I mean, there's also nope. Yes. Shindo was the other guy. Shinzo is also a person that, like, you know, if that can use voice to manipulate you to do what he wants, but you have, of course, have to have answer. You have to answer him first. But yeah, that's. I do like the idea though. I think it's mostly a bit. The end is a bit funny how like he gets treated, even though I think it's pretty unfair. But it is funny like that they just decide to like kinda do what he asks, but not really. The Garbage Man, I think the imagery in my head is like this like ball of just random items just sticking out all over the place, and he's just like ah. I think that's pretty interesting. Living water filter, yeah, that's okay. I think the fact that it calls like it says like please stop, I'm dying of I'm about to drown. I was like please, I need water. That is interesting. It seems to like it needs to have a certain amount of water in its life to like survive, I guess. And if it doesn't, bone fluids. The Flow to Nowhere, yeah, that's one of the weaker ones for sure, but it's definitely interesting that you can vanish and apparently just show up somewhere in different time and space. Earthen Womb, as I said, like it's definitely like one of the weaker starts of the 10 that we read, but and that perspective is definitely one of the weaker ends. But at the end, they're still fun to read. There's still interesting concepts, as in like a vase that's like it works like a room, but it's not, and it can regenerate your body to a certain extent, and you can, but it just doesn't fully work. There's some stuff that still ends up killing you, so it's not fully there. And that perspective, an object that circulates around you, orbits around you as if you have a gravitational pull. That reminds me of the Family Guy joke where Brian let an apple grow around Peter's stomach waist, and it just started floating around him, and he said like, you're so fat you have your own gravitational pull. So that's what I thought of when I was reading this. But yeah, so I am super tired. I'm gonna go now. Tomorrow we're gonna read SCP-6, that was weird, the 670s, and I think we will get the 600 done before Christmas vacation for me, because I'm going away, so I won't be able to do any streams, but we will get this done before that happens. Well, the 690s I will be very exhausted because it will be after my race. So, but yeah, we'll get through it. We'll get through it. But yeah, I will see you all guys tomorrow, and I wish you all a beautiful